The Instructor Podcast with Terry Cook, talking with leaders, innovators, experts and game changers about what drives them.
Welcome to the Instructor Podcast Green Room edition number 47. I think this is a show we cover all the latest news and hot topics from within our little driving instructor world. As always, I am your mediocre host, Terry Cook. I'm delighted to be here, but you're delighted it's not just me, because I am joined by the enigmatic enigma that is Chris Benstead. How are we doing, Chris?
Hello, how are you? I'm good.
Excellent. I think I might have to stop those wrestling ones now because I keep forgetting which ones I've done and I'm going to wind up repeating myself. And then someone will point it out to me and I'll feel very embarrassed.
You can't double up, can you?
Well, it depends what we're doing. But either way, you like piggybacking on lessons, I don't. So there you go. But yes, today we are going to be talking about 2025 and all that's coming up within it. But a little bit of news, kind of. There's not been a lot of news this month so far, but changes to the driving test booking system. So this was put out there that the DVSA are going to change the driving test booking system for ADIs and all this kind of stuff. And then I think there was a survey that come out and they said they were going to do it. And Chris, what's been done?
To the best of our knowledge, nothing. Emails were sent. That was it. So, yeah, I don't know. I have been asked to attend a meeting with Loveday to discuss the 7-point thing. And I haven't heard about that either. So maybe things are just very busy in the world of the DVSA and they're going to hit us with lots and lots of things in February, the shortest month of the year when the least normally happens.
I have not been invited for a meeting with Loveday. You'll be surprised to hear. But yes, I'll be looking forward to the green room in February then. But do you know what? Just while we're on it, though, do you think that the changes to the test booking systems, some of the proposals they've made around restricting the number of tests you can swap, and if you're found to be booking tests for someone that's not your own student, then you'll be in trouble. Basically, they haven't said how, but they kind of said you'll be in trouble. Do you think that'll have an impact?
No, I don't think. Well, I think they're all nice threats, and that seems to be all it really is kind of saying, you're going to get us back on the wrist. Most likely is that they're going to be really strict with who can have access to the OBS and who can have that privilege, because it's a privilege. So, things like that will be taken away. Outside of that, but the thing I keep coming back to is where the legality begins and ends, as in what are you actually allowed to do. The only thing that the DVSA have power over is our badges. And until they're given other powers, and I'm not necessarily against it, especially for driving school regulation of some kind, and until that, there isn't a lot they can do except for we're going to take your badge away, which is protected by a tribunal process. So as long as you behave yourself, you should be all right, with these things. It's not saying I don't want change. I don't want things to happen, because I think things need to. But do I see it actually happening? It'll be a date in the in the future that might never come.
I do reckon whether they could, and I'm not an advocate of this generally, but whether they're making an example of someone, getting someone struck off the register and being like, this is because you did the naughty thing. But
are you volunteering?
No, I mean, potentially. It's been one of those weeks, and it's only Monday. But I don't know. I have no idea what impact this will have, because I also think the people that are profiteering and making hundreds and thousands of pounds off the back of people probably don't care that much. I think there's an element of, well, let's make as much as we can until they block us, and then we'll just get students to book the test for them or whatever. So I don't know. We'll see. But again, we'll wait for news for that, because who knows if and when that will come, because they've been talking about it for about 2 months. So therefore, it's either not going to happen or it'll happen in 2026. Either way, a little bit of other news. Some things have been cropping up recently. Today in particular, we're recording this on, I believe it's Monday the 27th. And new national driving schools. There's been a few interesting announcements, if you like. I've seen at least 4, now 2 of which I can remember. So I'm going to mention them, and apologies to the others. But Lee Sperry is putting out his national school, and Tom Stenson has teamed up with Gates and Gibson, and they're putting out theirs. And there's been a couple of others as well. And one thing I will say is I like a tease, Chris. I like a tease. So let's say watch this space. But this has fascinated me. It feels a little bit like all this has come from nowhere. And I'm interested in your thoughts because it just feels a little bit like we don't like how the national schools are operating in some instances. We're going to do things differently. That's how it comes across through what I'm reading from different people. And I like that. From a personal standpoint, it's something I've always said, do something. If you're not happy with it, do something. And it feels like there's people that have gone, I'm not happy with this. I'm going to do something. So I'm just interested in your thoughts on it.
I think it's that thing, if you can do different or you can do better, you can do both, but they're both in there. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. I don't get it. I think there's another thing that's been announced, which is Bob Morton's mentoring, which is a similar kind of approach of ADIs need an arm around them, and really that's what a good national school would be. Is it offers support. So when Ian, Brett, and myself started up our own driving school, we started it as a school for what driving instructors would want, rather than a school that's there to provide pupils, and that's it, really. Maybe cars, but we didn't want to go down that route anyway. And that didn't encourage growth and success and a reputation for each of the individuals, all about the school. So we wanted to move away from that, and have been, I like to think relatively successful inside of what we did. I've never really had that desire to kind of think of things nationally, but I think as a trainer, I'm always picking up pieces, normally from large driving school messes. And with the people that have announced, the things going on, it's kind of what they do as well. So I think that's probably where things come from. I don't see yet, I don't get it, the bigger picture. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I hope there's something positive. I'm not sure what that's going to be. I hope it's not different and damaging to instructors in other ways if they don't get the support that they need. But if they're not, ironclad handcuffs on them all and holding them in there, that they're there because they want to be there, that can only be a good thing. As long as they get the support that they need, which I would like to think they will.
I think support is a key word there, because I think back to 2019, 2020, when I went independent in 2019, I think it was. I beget my age mixed up, but it was around that time I went independent and left Red. And I started going down that route. I started thinking, you know what, I want to train instructors and I want to open my own driving school. And I wasn't thinking about national at the time. I was just thinking about that. And I've told this story before, but I started doing it. And then I got so far in, I'm like, actually, I don't want to do this. I'm doing it because that's what everyone does. And then that's where the Instructor podcast came from, that I want to help people a different way. So for me, it's like, and I think you do this as well, to be fair, we are training. It is helping people nationally. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I'm fascinated by this. And again, it's something I don't want to dive too deep into, because obviously people will be doing it for different reasons. They'll be announcing stuff over the coming months, I'm sure. I had a chat with a couple of people today that have, I'm not going to name names, but a couple of people that have put stuff out there. And I would love to quote them, but I haven't asked if I could, so I'm not gonna. But I think that it's all done with good intentions. And I don't know, I think it's one of the things where it could be, or it has the potential to be really positive. But I also wonder if it's going to be almost like a fad, because it's the sort of thing that will take a while to get up and running. When you think of national driving schools, there's a reason they do things the way they do them. And it's to make the most amount of profit. And that's not a criticism. Making profit is a good thing. But to make some of the change that needs to be made, they're going to have to reduce profit.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's a reason they do things the way they do them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that exactly what you say is, if it's about helping people nationally, then I get it. It's that brand thing, isn't it? So, my other hat as a business coach, I've worked with driving instructors for over 10 years, supporting them growing their own businesses. And I don't know, this is all assumption, but it's a bit like it's going to be that, but with someone else's brand on it. And that, I think that's probably why I don't get it. Because if I was going to do it, I'd do it with my own, get the mentoring support and launch a brand that identifies what you are and what you do. And the big question will be, what happens when those people want to grow their own schools? Do they grow it inside of that national driving school? Is it a like a true franchise rather than a driving instructor franchise? Is it that kind of thing? It's really interesting. I've got more questions than answers.
I think it's just one of those things that we'll see as time goes along. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to February's green room. Let's put it that way. Let's take a moment and set the table then. Chris, you ought to tell everyone who you are and where they can find you and what awesome stuff you've got to offer.
I am someone who is currently still lost in 2024 and hasn't quite figured out that the new year's here, let alone it's nearly February. So I am Chris Benstead, and I am the co-founder of the DITC, the Driving Instructor and Trainers Collective. And we help signpost people to different things in the industry, as well as having a chat with the people that are panicking because they've got points coming or other threats as such, and pointing people in directions to go with that. All those sorts of things. But that seems to be my week this week and last week. And I am also a theory test specialist running Theory Test Explained, helping with all the theory needs of the industry. It seems like a bit of everything at the moment.
A couple of things. Firstly, we've just said that you're still stuck in 2024. Well, today we're looking at 2025, so this will be fun. And secondly, I stated public that one of my New Year's resolutions was to promote your grade A driving course. And I think I've done that so far. So we can tick that box. Are we agreeing?
Yeah, it's all good. Thank you.
Okay. So there you go. But yes, you are listening to the Instructor Podcast Green Room Edition, and I am its regular host, Terry Cook. And if you enjoy the content I put out and you would like to get more of that or work with me on a personal basis, several options. You can tune into the Instructor Podcast Premium, or you can contact me for some one-to-one work as well. And the best place to find that is www.theinstructorpodcast.com. You can find the premium details over there. And if you click on the bit that says instructor training, you can even find more stuff from me to work with me one-on-one. But as I said, we are looking forward to 2025 because I listened back recently to our episode that we recorded, the end of the year episode, you and I and Stuart Lockery and Tom Stenson. I was quite downbeat on that. I think I'd had a ropey end to the year, and I wasn't excited about this one. I am fresh and invigorated, and there is a new Terry on the scene now, and I've got all kinds of funky plans lined up, and I'm looking at 2025, and I'm thinking there's never been a better time to be a driving instructor. I'm looking at some of the stuff that's lined up for us that wasn't there when I become an instructor, and it wasn't there, especially when you became an instructor. So I thought it'd be fun to talk through a little bit of that, yeah. So first of all, let's start with some... It's true. How long have you been an instructor, Chris?
16 years.
Okay, I always forget. I think I'm 7 or 8. So you double mine.
Yeah, right. Rub it in.
Yeah, there you go. But let's talk through some of this stuff then, and I think give people say what we think of it, but also give people an idea of what's coming up, what they can engage in this year. And we'll look at our bits first. So I want to talk about the walkback. So if someone doesn't know what the walkback is, what is it? Why should and could they be doing it?
I was trying to figure out what our bits were because I assumed it was an acronym and I didn't know. And then I realised it was an accent thing and I needed to tune into Terry. So the walkback, that I can tell you about. The walkback is a mental health and physical health effort I don't like calling it an effort. I can't think of a better word, where we're really trying to encourage driving instructors to connect with each other, have a chat. I don't mind if you do it over a coffee if it's a rainy day, but the essence of it is go out and find somewhere that you can go for a walk. So you get a bit of physical exercise, and you get to excise any demons that are in your brain with like-minded people, have a chat. And it came up over a chat with a driving instructor, and like all these things, we said, well, let's make it national. Let's not start on a local level and do it with just us. We'll go national straight away. So we did. And there's pockets of instructors all over the country who meet up on the second Tuesday of the month. Some in the morning, some in the evening. Isle of Wight do both because they just couldn't make their mind up. But if you can't find one locally, start one. It could just be two of you. Going for a wander in the woods. No one will judge. It's all good. We listen, but we don't judge.
See, when I think about this, so when I first started, and I think, what would I have done with this in 2017, 2018, 2019? And the honest answer is I'm not sure, because I was a very different person back then. I've always been an introvert. And I don't know whether I would have embraced it or not, but I would have liked to have had the option. And I know I could have started it myself, obviously, but it's always easier when something's there. And it came from your brain, as many wonderful and weird things often do. But I think if you think of driving instructors, often the only time we actually get to talk shop is at the test centre. I'm not saying we should be talking shop necessarily on the walk back, but I think it's a great opportunity, even if you just take away like the physical health and maybe an element of the mental health, it's a great opportunity to liaise with the local community or liaise with people. I've started my little venture around the UK again. I've got to off to see Gary Thomas, who's watching live with us today. I'm off to see him in February. I've got Andy Sinker, who's, to be fair, he's 20 minutes down the road, but I'm off to see Andy Sinker in March. I think it's Sarah Hall in April. So I'm lining up mine for my travels, and it's exciting me again. And I think it's a great idea. And well, how would you have embraced that if that had been kicking about when you started, Chris, 16 years ago, double my time?
I think the big change would be I wouldn't have necessarily known about it, because we've now got the opportunity to do these things. It was a case of come up with it on one day, launch it on the next day, and off we go. And it would have been a case of trying to convince the DVSA that we were allowed to put the posters in the waiting rooms, which is something I'm going to revisit now because we still haven't got permission. It's down to test centre managers. So if we'd have got that permission, and back then they were far more strict, then people might have seen it at the test centre. I definitely wouldn't. I would have had to go to all the test centres to put posters out. If it would have been a very practical exercise. We are spoiled for, as you just kindly labelled it, the silly ideas that come out of my head and other people's heads, that we can have this silly idea like an international driving instructor day. We can launch it and see where it goes. I love that. It's part of my self-diagnosis of ADHD. I was watching a thing earlier that said these are the things that most people work to for tasks. They want the rewards and this, that, and the other. But this is what ADHD people want, and work to. And they described me. It was just one of those things where that's what I love. I love that, chuck it out there, see what happens. I'm not necessarily looking for an end goal. I just want to see what the response is. I'm like my very own Newton's cradle.
Do you know what? I think that's a really good point, that we've got these platforms shouting about it, whether it's on the podcasts that are out there, whether it's on various newsletters, whether it's just social media where you've got like that 10,000 plus strong Facebook group and all this kind of stuff. I think that's a really good point. But I want to move on to the next one, because this is a little project of mine and yours, which is how to become or how to be a driving instructor, which we started back in 2021, 2022. It was around that time. And life happens sometimes, and it got put aside and then forgot about. And I came across it recently, I forget why, but I came across it and I listened to it. I'm like, this is really good. And I wound up sending you like a 5-minute long voice note going, we need to do something with this. So I suppose one of the things I'm excited about this year is relaunching that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. And again, it fits in with the pattern of, I need someone like Terry around me to help me finish and complete. I'll leave that one there. But it's it's that thing of, the things that happen, the things that come from it. That's what I love about the industry, is that you can chuck something out there and people will run with it. And you'll meet them 10 years later and they'll remember the thing that you said. The funny thing from that is that you're not necessarily the same person, same instructor that you were then, and you've moved on and changed opinions, and those things are still floating out there and they're in the ether. Which say I find all of that really interesting. But no, I'm looking forward to hopefully adding something. You said if you don't like it, do something about it. I hope that is going to become something that potential driving instructors, that are but pre-PDIs. That's what I'm looking for. The pre-PDIs will find it and they'll think about it before they sign on the dotted line.
Well, I haven't told you this yet. So you're discovering this as everyone else is, but I've had ideas. I think it's bigger than this. I think we can make this something that trainers can share with people. I think we can make this, we can take it into, right, now you're an ADI, what now? And take it beyond that. I think this goes beyond the podcast. I think this becomes a thing. So, yes, you found out my thoughts there, Chris, live. But I think I'm quite excited about this. And we're talking about it. We're still not arranged to do it yet. So let's pick a date sometime after we finish recording. But yes, how to be a driver instructor. And I will just say that there are some episodes out there. I will include a link in the show notes. So if you go on to whatever podcast platform you want and search for that, you can find it. There's 3 episodes out already now. And we'll be adding to that. So go and check that out. But I want to say my big thing for this year, because last year I released a Mega Night at the start of 2024. I then intended to release one in the middle of 2024, but life happened, things get in the way, and apparently there's only so many hours in the day, which is news to me. But I had to reschedule it, and that has now been rescheduled again to July. Thankfully, it's not January. We rescheduled to Thursday, the 10th of July at 11 a.m. And for those that don't know, you can actually go back and listen to the Mega Night on the Instructor podcast feed. But this is 9 speakers, all delivering 20-minute presentations. We've had some awesome people on, like yourself, Chris, you've been on, and some awesome people. Dr. Elizabeth Box and Emma Cossington and all these kind of cool folk. And it's an instructor podcast production, which means there will be some random people in that you would not expect. And as I say, that's Thursday, the 10th of July, 11 a.m. If you want to find out more, I'm going to suggest you do 2 very important things. Firstly, follow the Instructor Podcast WhatsApp channel. Secondly, follow the Instructor or subscribe to the Instructor Podcast email. Again, you can do both of those things in the comments. That's going to be the easiest place for you to find out more. Already got 6 of the 9 speakers lined up, and the other 3 haven't been lined up yet because I haven't messaged them. I need to do one at a time, otherwise it's too much stress. But that's something I'm very excited about. Chris, are you excited about the Mega Night returning?
I've just put it into my drive time, so it's there. I won't forget about it. It's sandwiched between me meeting with Ian the day before and me going for breakfast the day after. I don't know which one I'm more excited about. It's all good. But if we subscribe to your email listing, do we get an email about it?
At some point, yes. I will be sending out emails. I'll update on there who's coming on and how you sign up to it and watch and all that kind of stuff. But they will be posted on social media as well. But the easiest way to find it will be the emails. That'll be the most direct way. But yeah, do you know what? I love the Mega Nights. I think it might be my favorite thing I do. It's very stressful. What would you say to people, Chris, who look at it and go, well, it's 11 a.m. Why is he doing it 11 a.m.? I need to work. I've got this thing 7 months away, by the way, at 11 a.m.
I will say what I always say about you, which is that the Instructor Podcast and all that has come with it is the best collection of CPD that you will get, with the broadest and widest variety of content, stuff that you didn't think you needed to know, stuff that you might not need to know, but you'll only find that out by having a listen, and discard the stuff you don't want and keep the stuff you do. I reckon every single episode you listen to, you will find something to put in your toolbox. The Meganar is that in a day of just variety, and it moves on to the next one, and you're happy sitting there listening, absorbing, and just being in the moment with CPD. Whereas if you were to go to a course for the same length of time, you'd sit there listening to a person or a couple of people talking about a subject, maybe a couple of subjects. But you get variety, you get a bit of everything, and then you can use that to plan what's going to be going on for the rest of your year, and you can invest the money in yourself instead of the tax man.
Thank you for those kind words. I appreciate that. But the other thing I'll just say is, like, it's 11 a.m. and I know some of you will have lessons and stuff planned, but it's 6 months away. Schedule the day off. Schedule the morning off. And the reason it's 11 a.m. is because it's a hell of a lot easier for me to run than when I do it at 7 p.m. and then finish at 10:30, because even though I say it's 3 hours, it goes on for 3.5 to 4. But either way, the next thing I want to mention, Chris, is our favourite day of the year, which is Driving Instructor Day, March the 16th, which, as of recording, was 50 days away 2 days ago. And I forgot to post, so there we go. But Driving Instructor Day, March the 16th. I love Driving Instructor Day. This is another one of my favourite things, because with the first year this came out, it was okay, it was good, but it felt like last year, and it just felt warm. It felt like more people embrace it, not in a way of let's celebrate, what's awesome, this, that, or the other. It was just a way of, it were a lovely day.
Yes, I think it came to us rather than we went to it. Was how it felt last year, that there were so many people getting involved. It was nice to watch that happening. Whereas previously we'd both kind of tried to make a point of the fact it's Driving Instructor Day, and and say or do things. But it was just really nice to see. From how many countries is it now?
It's 6 or 7. There's Switzerland, there's Germany, there's the US, Australia. I can't remember the others, but yeah, there's 6 or 7.
That's a proper thing, isn't it? It's really cool. It's just cool. It doesn't have to be anything else. It just has to be that you kind of sit there on the summit and go, yeah, what it becomes now, let's see.
And you know what? I don't mention this. And I'm only mentioning it for a very specific reason, which you'll find out when I say it, but I don't mention it, which is, I think it's become what I wanted to be, which is I never wanted it to be mine. I didn't want people to look at it and go, this is something that Terry's created. And obviously the idea, weird and wonderful idea, came from my brain and it got put out there. But now people just share it. And there's an awful lot of people that have no idea where it came from. And that was always the goal. I never wanted it to be Terry's thing. I just want it, here's Driving Instructor Day. Let's have some fun. And I think that's why I liked it so much last year, because I think it felt like that. And yeah, and I probably won't mention that again, because obviously if I mention it, then it's kind of saying it was my idea. And that's not why I'm saying it. I'm just saying I like that fact. I think that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. And does that mean we're not allowed to tag you every time people go, whose stupid idea was this?
I think you're more than welcome.
That's right.
I'll happily take the criticism as well as the praise. I don't take notice as much of the criticism, because usually it's from Neanderthals. But whatever. Let's move on. Driving Instructor Day, what a stupid idea. Rah, rah, rah. Oh, don't embrace it then. Don't do it. It's fine. You don't have to embrace it. Just you carry on with your little life. It's okay.
But when their pupil notices and they bring them a nice bottle of something to say Happy Driving Instructor Day, I bet they'll still take it and drink it.
And put it on social media. Look what my pupil bought me today for Driving Instructor Day. Aren't I the best?
And then I'll reply, Dear HMRC.
They're the post you tagged me in as well, Chris. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on, because another one of my favourite things, maybe I've just picked a list of my favourite things, I'm not sure, but all the words, the ADI, NJC and Intelligent Instructor Convention, which is on the 23rd of March, and there are still tickets available for this. This is the overnight stay where, get this right. On the Saturday, there's the awards, there's like a meal, there's a dance, there's a world-class entertainer that's been put out in our world-class entertainer, Chris. And then the following day is the actual convention where there's, I might get these numbers wrong, so it's either 12 or 14 speakers and then 25 exhibitions. And it's almost a little bit like the Meganar. You go in, you get presented to, and they were in 3 blocks last year where they'd come and talk to you, I think like 20 to 30 minutes each, and then you go off and have a break, then you back and forth like that. I loved this last year. I thought it was one of the best CPD events that I've been to, and I love the overnight aspect. I love meeting some good people, and I liked sitting and being presented to by different people, because it often, if you go for like on a workshop or a course, and I've spoke about my issues with this before, I struggle with that when it's that same thing throughout a day. But by having different people spend, it works really well. But you're off to it this year, aren't you, Chris?
Yes, I am, and I am looking forward to seeing lots of people and then recovering for 2 days afterwards, because I that's the bit I don't like, but it's good for me. I do enjoy it in the moment. It's the recovery bit that I don't, but that's fine. It's all good. And again, everyone will have to come and say hello and introduce themselves by name, because I'm awful with names. But everyone was so good at the expo. I'm expecting everybody to do it,
despite my inclinations otherwise. Do you know when sometimes you shouldn't say stuff, but I do anyway because it's after 7 o'clock. I've had a word. I've had a word about the seating arrangements, Chris. We may be together. We may be together.
I've had a word as well. We may not.
All right, screw it. There are still tickets available. Again, for all this stuff we're talking about today, we'll put links in the show notes. But the stuff we've spoken about there, is there anything, again, they've got more to come, but we'll do them in blocks. Is there anything you're looking forward to more than the others?
The stuff you didn't mention that we don't know yet.
Yes.
So I think what you've touched on is, we'll call it in affectionate terms, stupid ideas that have turned into things. How awesome is 2025 going to be? That's what I want to know. I just what's going to come along that becomes a bit of a trend, or grows into something else. I'm that's what I'm looking forward to.
Let's tie it in then, because we mentioned the convention, and we've also got the expo, which is different to the convention, and the expo is on the 28th of September. Very different to the convention. Always enjoy it. Intrigued to see who the speakers are, because I think my one critique, sort of negative critique of the last one, was it felt very driving instructor centric. It was very standards check, or very, here's a driving instructor, here's a DVSA. It didn't feel like there's anything like the box. Whereas with the convention last year, we had people like Mira Naran and Dr. Liz Box talking, and Ian Greenwood was there, which, I love listening to Ian Greenwood talk. And I know there's some other people coming up this year. Was it Ian Greenwood? Have I got that name right? I might be getting that wrong. Either way, there's some of those sort of people at the convention, but at the expo felt a bit, like I said, driving instructor centric. What were your thoughts on that, Chris?
I didn't go, and I regret not having gone.
Just to interject, with the expo.
Yeah, didn't go to the convention. Sorry, so I regret not having gone to that. So I can't compare the difference, but I think with the with the speakers, I know I was up against people that I wanted to go and listen to. That there were a lot of similarities in there. And I think a bit more variety. I don't know if that would have made it easier to pick who to go and listen to, but it was. I don't know. The variety was missing for me. So I think sometimes it's a bit of outside the box thinking, but we want the box there because she's awesome.
And no, that might be my favourite thing you've ever said. But yes, Ian Edwards, Gary Thomas in the comments. I knew I'd got that wrong. Ian Edwards, not Ian Greenwood. I believe Ian Greenwood is at this one, but I could be wrong on that. So there could be lots of things I'm wrong on today. So yes, and also Gary says, Rachel invited me to the night event. Someone sit next to me. Anyone, please. Gary, I've had a word about the seating arrangement. Let's leave it at that. But yes, that's the expo on the 20th of September. We've also got the MSA National Training Weekend on the 1st of March. Now, this is celebrating the MSA in, I didn't write it down a number of years, but they've been around many years and they're celebrating that. So the MSA National Training Weekend on the 1st of March, Chris. I only found this out today because when I was making notes, I thought, let's go and see if the MSA have got anything planned. So, Chris, did you know about the MSA National Training Weekend on the 1st of March?
Well, as an MSA member, no, I didn't. But I only said today how I need to up my game in looking at what the MSA do, because I know they work their backsides off. And I think, being a member isn't enough. There's no point in it. Firstly, it's a waste of my money. Secondly, I don't think it's fair on them. They put all that effort in, and I respect that effort. So, I was literally saying this morning when someone said, what associations are there and what's the differences? I'm not informed enough on the MSA. So that is my one of my goals for 2025 is to be more engaged. So I may well see if I can get along to that and see what's happening.
Do you know what? It was in the middle of last year on a green room that I was praising the MSA for their communication. And I thought they were the best at getting stuff out in terms of the associations. And I think that I had no idea this was coming up. And the fact that as a member, and just to clarify, I too am a member, the fact that neither of us, I didn't know that, I think says a lot. So maybe that's something that we need to mention to them in a polite way. But yeah, that's on the 1st of March. I won't be attending that. It's a weekend I've got booked in. It's also a weekend that I should be going to the IMTD, which I'm also not attending that. And that's how they're finding out through this podcast. So that's nice. We've also got the Road Safety Week coming up in November. Now, last year, in 2024 for Road Safety Week, we managed to raise over £1,700 for Break, the road safety charity. I have no idea what we're going to do this year. I have no idea if anyone else is going to pick up the baton and do something, or if I'm going to do anything again this year, but I will be involved in road safety one way or another this week. And I think, if I'm being honest, I think that I need to be better for that. Because part of my role as the instructor podcast, and in the green room in particular, is to showcase this stuff. It's kind of a self-appointed role. I want to promote this stuff that instructors may not know about otherwise. And I think that with stuff like that, I'm sometimes guilty of leaving it a little bit late and throwing it on people. So I think that one of the things I'll need to do this year is talk about that a little bit earlier. But I did really enjoy it. I loved the content that Break put out last year. It didn't feel overly preachy. It felt educational. It felt abrupt sometimes. And, I think that's needed occasionally, even if the science is otherwise. But, I know better than science. I'm one of those people. So, yeah, Road Safety Week. Any comments or thoughts on that, Chris?
I never feel like I do enough when it comes to Road Safety Week. I really struggle. I feel like I'm one of those fleas where they've put the lid on the box and now I can only jump as high as the box. I don't know. It seems to be the same. It's the same as when we're talking about teaching people to drive, and it's like, well, you've got to the test level, the level I want you to be at. I don't think I can teach you anymore, but there's more that you can teach. There's advanced techniques and development. We weren't good enough at that point. We had to work for our part twos. We've worked on other things, other skills since, hopefully. So I often I sort of feel like we hit that glass ceiling and it, I don't know, it doesn't feel comfortable, but I don't know quite what to do. But I think we might have a look at something. We've managed to bring back our under 17 driving as a driving school. So we might try and do something alongside that, because that feels, like a good space to work with the messages and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think we might try and do that. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't yet seen. I've seen little things, and some of those have been really big little things, but any sort of connectivity through the industry of an embracing Road Safety Week, which seems to be, I think this is the problem, it seems to be a real natural bedfellow for driving instructors, but it's what we do. But I don't know whether by the time Break have got it's so presented and marketed that we then struggle because we're not, we're not in the same arena in that way. I don't know, but I definitely want to try and do more, and at least not miss it, because I've done that a couple of times as well, where I know it's coming up. So if you're shouting about it earlier, I'll remember, which would be great. Thank you.
Well, I think that I obviously had a big kind of explore into the world of road safety last year, and I think I agree with you. It's not really connected with our industry properly. The dots haven't connected throughout. But I think I've come to the realization that it's gonna take a long time because of the mindset of a lot of instructors out there. If you look at the ones that aren't willing to adapt, in brackets, yet, it's up to the new people coming in, I believe. And I go right back to what you said at the start. This information is available to them now. And I don't think I did a good enough job last year of presenting that in some instances. So I think that if we can continue to present it to these people, it's almost like when we look at drivers. I just want to make the best new driver I can. I can't fix the existing driver, but if I can create a culture of new drivers that is, for lack of a better term, better than the culture that is currently there, even if it's just 1 degree better, if I can make that 1 degree better every time, well, where's that going to be in 10 years? You think almost like the compound interest. It's not 10 degrees, it's adding on top of that. So I think that it's not going to come overnight. And I'm not going to name him because I don't think I've said it before, and I don't know if it's sensible to say him, but I had someone that asked me recently that said, how come they asked me specifically, how come I've connected the road safety stuff as well as I have? And my response is quite simply because I'm talking to the people that care. I'm not worrying about the people that don't, because I can't persuade everyone. I can talk to the people that care. I can talk to the people that are sort of a bit further away looking over the shoulder. And then hopefully there's a few people further away that are going, why are those people looking over the shoulder starting to look over the shoulder? And then they get interested, and it kind of goes that way. But I think that's kind of where my head's at from the last year, this little voyage into the road safety world I've done. Anything you want to add on to that?
No, I think that's really interesting because it is that growing on norms, isn't it? And I experienced this during the Big Learner Relay years, which was PDIs were coming in thinking it was what we did, and it was a totally revolutionary change, and that's all you need is for people to come in the change to then grow from that point, and that way we all take that step forward. So I think you make a really good point.
One of the things I've done this year, in fact, I need to tell you about last year first. I had a goal last year of reading 52 books in a year, because I used to be a big reader. Actual reading, not listening. I listen as well. But reading 52 books in a year. And within the first couple...
Sorry, I didn't know there were that many Mr. Men.
Yeah. Within the first couple of weeks of January last year, I hadn't read a book. So then I gave up, because what's the point? If I can't read 52, what's the point of reading any? And last year I read one book. Whereas this year, I've set myself a goal of reading 10 pages a day. And that's going to be about a book a month. And I've already read one in January. And it seems obvious when I say it aloud, but that my brain wasn't working that way before. It wasn't going, where's the small step that takes me to the mile? It was just, I can't do the mile, so there's no point doing it. And now I'm all about the small steps. So yeah, it's interesting. But the other one I want to mention, I don't think we've got a date for this yet, is the DIA conference events that you always attend that I don't, Chris. That's usually sort of in the fourth quarter of the year. So I never attended this. So I'll let you give, not through any negative reason, just because, again, weirdly, there's only so many hours in the day. Anything you want to mention on the DIA conference?
They normally sneak it just into the beginning of December. And I always enjoy it. I think when I first came into the industry, the different associations did things differently in the way of a conference, and it was a bit more of a traditional conference, but they still all had their takes on it. I much prefer what's available now. I think the DIA one, as I've said, didn't go to the NJC conference, so I can't compare it to that. But it's that more traditional conference, go along and listen to speakers as an approach. The one that they had in 2024 was really good with a lot of DVSA bods there, and I think that added value in a way that we haven't necessarily had those along in that kind of format to the DIA conferences. But again, a nice mix of other things as well. So yeah, it's one that I've always liked. Possibly also because there's not as many people. They work to a slightly smaller number, and that often suits me.
I think the last thing I want to mention around this, and I've been asked not to say anything about this, so screw it, is that you and I, Chris, we are not presenting at the convention this year, and we're not talking. However, we will be presenting at the expo in September. And I've been asked not to give any further details than that, but I just wanted to drop that in there that we will be doing something a little bit different at the expo this year. So once the convention's out of the way, I'm allowed to talk about it. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. But, I think of that list, right? We've got the Walkback, which is ongoing every month. We've got the Meganar, which is in July. We've got Driving Instructor Day in March. We've got the convention in March. The MSA National Training Weekend in March. We've got the Expo in September. Road Safety Week in November. The DIA Conference, which kind of mentioned is usually in December. We've got stuff I'm not even mentioned, like the Road Safety GB, which is like a 2-day meeting. That's usually end of the year. The Young Driver Focus, I think, is usually around June, July time. We've got the ICE Live event, which, as of recording, is in 2 days' time. But when this episode goes out, will be 2 days ago. So I'll let your brain work that one out, Chris. But all that stuff, and I'm sure there's loads I haven't mentioned. And there'll be lots of little stuff going on around it as well, a lot of local stuff that isn't national. There'll be lots of other webinars and other podcasts and other YouTube shizzle and courses and all this kind of stuff. So how awesome is that?
It's brilliant. My concern is that if the DVSA hear about that, the reason there's such a long waiting list is that driving instructors never actually teach people to drive. They're always too busy at a conference or an event somewhere. So that'll be on the next email coming out.
Well, I'm glad you've mentioned that because I received an email from the DVSA today. As we've stepped into 2025, it's the perfect time to reflect on your professional development and plan the year ahead. Continuing professional development, CPD, is a simple way to ensure you're always at your best, helping your pupils and improving your skills as an ADI. Did you know? I'm going to read these facts out, Chris. They're 3 facts, and I'd appreciate your opinion on these facts. I'll read all 3 out. This is the email from the DVSA that came out today. The 2024 Working as an ADI survey showed that 76.9% of ADIs who completed CPD last year said it improved their skills. ADIs who regularly engage in CPD report higher confidence and satisfaction in their role. And ADIs who charge higher lesson rates are more likely to engage in CPD, boosting both their skills and their income.
Okay, we got a survey done to find that out.
We got a survey done, yeah. We needed one for that. We needed a survey to tell us that ADIs who complete CPD last year says it improves the skills.
Okay.
I will be leaving that silencing. And the last bit I'm going to read from this email. Some activities ADIs have found valuable include, keep in mind this is an email from the DVSA, attending the top reasons for failing driving test webinar. I'm going to put this video clip out. Completing the official DVSA Better Driving Guide e-learning course. And lastly, participating in the ADI NJC and Intelligent Instructor National Conference and Expo 2024. So, Chris, do you think that those 3 things, 2 of which are DVSA things and 1 of which the DVSA heavily attended, do you think that the DVSA saying that those things has any relevance? Or
I think the biggest challenge is the one that I've always been scared of and continue to be. If they mandate CPD, that's what they will mandate. And as we know, as the podcast reflects in every single varied and unique episode, variety and outside the box stuff is what makes the industry great. And I don't believe that the civil service would see that, because otherwise they'd be on our side of the fence.
I think, you know what, I want one point on that, which is I still find myself saying this to this day about this podcast. And I said it when I first launched it, which is this podcast will never be the biggest thing around because it's not talking about the standards check every week and all that kind of stuff. And I'm constantly proved wrong by social interaction, by messages, by sheer volume of people that download on multiple different platforms. Slight aside, I had someone message me this week saying that my numbers on YouTube are crap. I'm like, yeah, no, it's not a YouTube show. It's just there for the odd people that like to listen on YouTube music. You know, there's like 20 times that on the podcast thing. But anyway, and I think that makes me happy because it shows there are more people out there than we realize that actually want that variety you've said. I just think that the people that want the standards check stuff shout louder sometimes, that's all. Gary poses a good question. Sorry, Chris, come on.
So I was going to say, and they don't know where to find it. You know, that's the other issue, isn't it? The other stuff hits you in the face because it's there and it's directly relevant to absolutely every ADI that's out there. Whereas the other stuff, you don't know what you don't know until you know that you don't know it, and you don't know what you need until you discover it.
And I still think I'm blowing my own trumpet now, but whatever. But I still think I'm the only person that will happily showcase plenty of other people on the same episode. So if you listen to this podcast and you're not enjoying it, well, there's about 17 others. You can go check out Dipod, you can check out the Knowledgeable Instructor podcast, you can check out Inspire podcast. There's one that's about a cup of tea. There's the one on YouTube called Mirror Signal podcast, and I probably missed a couple. And do you know what? 2 more of my own that I always forget: Driving Instructors Division 0 and 1 Minute Driving Instructor Tips. There's a load more out there if you don't like this. And in a nice possible way, I'll happily send people to those if they don't like this. But either way, slightly off topic what we're talking about there, because I want to ask you about what you're hoping for from 2025, and you can answer that question however you see fit.
I'd like to find inner peace of some kind. I'd like to get some things done that I've been trying to get done for ages. Be able to stand there, look at them, and appreciate them. And I don't think I will, because I haven't managed it yet. There'll be lots of new things, and there'll be lots of shiny things, and all of that will go on. But I'd like to kind of, get some good foundations in place. So there's a risk I might go a little bit quiet. It's not going to happen, is it?
Well, I won't let you. You're stuck on air every month. Is there anything planned specifically that you want to let us know about?
The problem is, if I tell you what's planned, then I get held to it. And then you will do a podcast at the end of the year asking me why I haven't done what I said I'd do. We are regrouping regarding DITC because we know the things that we need to improve. We just need to do it. So we're doing some nice practical stuff. Worst thing about practical stuff, no one sees it. It's all behind the scenes and everything else. And then, hopefully we get to the point where people appreciate it. Regarding theory, I want to change the world. I'm not sure I'm going to manage that in 2025, but I am working hard to, because I am so fed up with mediocrity. It's not even that, it's worse than that, but I can't find a word that's polite. So anything I can do to make changes on that, is going to be important. I am specifically, because you want specifics, I know. I am trying to engage with driving instructors about what they can do differently without them teaching theory, which is not self-preservation, but I recognize, and I was always surprised how many instructors don't do theory, but they do. But they see it as being something different, and I now understand why it's different. I understand what is different, and I'm finding ways that they can, in car, do theory stuff without going anywhere near a theory test question, and do things differently in that way. So that's probably my biggest focus at the moment is getting that done. We might produce that calendar that we keep saying that we're going to do.
Yeah, do you know what? When I listened back to the episodes from last year and we said we were going to do a naked calendar running through a meadow, we would have to do it in the summer so it was sunny. We didn't do it. Let's schedule that in now. And we'll mention this at the end of the podcast because not as many people listen all the way to the end. But yeah, we've got the naked calendar that we'll do this summer, Chris. We're agreeing to it this time.
I don't think I didn't agree. I think I just was looking for ways to avoid it.
Yeah, you were less keen than me. Let's put it that way. I thought it was a great idea. And then
it's the running. It was the running. It's not the nakedness. It was running through a field. I don't run for anyone.
Prancing merrily. That's what we'll do. You also sent me a message today about what you might want to talk about on the show. Was that something that you want to talk about? Or was that something that let's tease Terry with this comment?
I think you've already done it, to be honest. No, I'm up for anything.
I'll let you take it away then. What was the topic that you wanted to talk about?
I was trying to think. I worded it very nicely. So
just while you're finding that, I will just mention Gary has put in the comments 12 naked instructors calendar to raise money for road safety. I think we've just figured out what we're doing for Road Safety Week.
That sounds questionable. I think there should be a draw for the 12. So everybody gets to put names in because some of them have been pulled twice, I suspect, but we'll see.
Yes, but Gary has committed to doing it. I've committed to doing it. You've committed to doing it. So there are 9 spaces left. If you want to be in the Naked Drive Instructor calendar for Road Safety Week 2020, I should probably run this by Lucy Straker at breakfast just to be on the safe side because she may not approve. But if you want to be on that calendar, then let us know.
Also, do we know what the theme's going to be? Because that might be very inappropriate.
We can have different sized tyres covering body parts. I've got a Lego car back there that will do the trick.
How to measure your tread depth. My
word.
My suggestion when we were spitballing what to do when the DVSA haven't done anything new yet for us to talk about was the Emperor's New Clothes. Rehashing things and selling them as new innovations. Is it time for actual change? That was my big question. What do you reckon?
I don't know is the answer, because on one hand, I think this comes down to what we've spoken a little bit about before in terms of like originality and creativity and that kind of stuff. And I think I've changed my mind slightly on this. I worry less now about other people copying or rehashing stuff, because if they're copying something good and they're rehashing something good, then it's going to be better than a lot of the crap that's out there. And ultimately, why am I doing what I'm doing? So whether that's teaching people to drive, whether it's the instructor podcast, the Meganar, whatever, I'm doing it because I want less people to die on roads. And yes, I want to make a profit while I do that, because then I can afford to live and eat and stuff. And that's quite important at times. But when I step back, if someone copies it, or if someone uses it as inspiration, or if someone rehashes it, then that's probably a better thing than some of the other crap that's out there.
I think I'm biased because of, and in saying this, I have no problem with people getting in touch with me and asking me questions. I get at least once a week an instructor getting in touch saying, I want to do theory, can you give me all your stuff? I've worked really hard on it, and it's mine from a perspective of, it's an end point. It's still developing and everything else, but there's all the stuff behind it, all that time and effort and understanding you put into that. And the skill of the job that we all do is making things simple. So if you've done the hard work and made it really simple, it's incredibly easy then for someone to take it and run with it. And, I fully support people doing theory. Absolutely. We need more people doing theory. We need to change it and engaging with it. And as I said earlier, that's potentially about finding ways people can do that while still inside the comfort of the car, rather than relaunching something different or something totally new to them, and alien to them. But I feel the pain of when you've worked so hard to create something and then someone else builds on top of it, and it's a real double-edged sword, because you want things to improve, so you want to be part of it. It's nice to as well. You kind of look at it and go, I did that. There's certain phrases that I hear that I know that I came up with, and you suddenly hear it come back at you from someone else, and it's nice. But I all the things we've said today about how the PDI is coming in, there's a new norm. They just accept that is how it is. So I feel the pain of the people that have put that effort in and then feel that it's been taken from them. But I also want to see that development and growth of the industry. So often in life, the needs of the many and the needs of the few, isn't it? It's that. And it's probably better for everybody with, where you build on other people's stuff, and that's how science and technology and everything works. But in such a small industry, I still feel it sometimes. And I still look at things and think, I know where that came from. And you've just sold it as yours. But it allegedly worked for J.K. Rowling, so...
I agree with what you said there. And I feel it sometimes as well, that I'll look at something, I'll go, yeah, that rings a bell. But I think where I've changed my mindset recently is I can't control that. I can only control what I can control. So if someone decided to create a new thing called the Blue Room, where they covered all the latest hot topics and news from within the industry with, Chris Cook and Terry Benstead, then it would sting a bit, especially if it did better than this podcast did. It would sting. But that means they've done a better job of marketing it. So what I need to do is go back and copy their marketing, or at least take inspiration from their marketing. And I think that's where... Oh no, that one's got me. I love that comment, Gary. I'm not going to put it in the podcast, but it's got me. I don't know what we're saying. I'll leave it in, actually. Screw it. You can wonder why. If you want to know what Gary said, you'll have to tune in and come watch these live, because that was brilliant. But either way, yeah.
And he's actually gone.
Yeah, he's actually gone. But it's that. I can only take responsibility for what I can take responsibility for. If anyone else is doing something, they can do it. It's fine. Off you trot. I'm not going to worry about you. I'm going to worry about me. And there's a line there. So to use your example, someone comes to you and says, can I have your stuff? Well, the answer is no. But if you pay me for a session and then you go and use that stuff, there's very little I can do about it. So, okay, well, at least I've got my 50 quid or whatever, off you trot. And again, if they do it better, well, you just need to improve your marketing. And which is probably the thing we both need to do, if being honest anyway. So I think that's where I stand on it. Yes, I'm human. Yes, it's frustrating. Yes, it's frustrating when I look out and I'll see standards check this, standards check that, and you know my feelings on that. But I think the other thing, we can almost tie this right back to one of the first things we spoke about today with the national driving schools that have been released. It feels like, and I could be completely wrong with this, by the way, but it feels like someone did it first, then everyone else has gone, I need to announce mine really quick now. And again, I could be 100% wrong with that, but that's how it feels. just by looking at it, unless the 4 people decided all to announce on the same day by coincidence at different times throughout the day, which could happen, but unlikely. So it's then potentially our people seeing other people going, oh, I need to get I'm worrying again what other people think. I'm at a point now where I don't care. I just like, whatever you want to worry about, you don't concern yourself with me. You know, when I've whatever podcast it is, whatever Meganar is, I wasn't the first person to do a Meganar. The Meganar is a Dan Meredith product, and he called it a Meganar. The thing is, he forgot it were called a Meganar, because when I told him I was doing it, he goes, that's a great name. I went, yeah, it's yours, knobhead. And he's like, oh yeah, I did that, didn't I? And it's, so I think that, yeah, I don't want to bang on about that too much, but for me, I think I'm at a point now, and I wasn't at this point at the end of last year. It's why I was quite downtrodden on the end of year episode. I'm at a point now where I'm concerning myself with me, not other people. I'll let them do what they want. I've got me, and I've got the people I care about. And if people want to come and listen or come and watch and come and be part of this awesome community, as in like an active member or just someone that floats around or someone that says hello, amazing. You're more than welcome. If you don't, great. That's not a problem at all. Do your own awesome thing, but just make it as awesome as you can.
Here.
Cool. Well, on that note, on a here, we'll wrap up. Do you want to take a moment to remind people where they can find you, Chris?
You can find me via theditc.co.uk or through Theory Test Explained, which is also available on Instagram and TikTok if you want to send your pupils to something that might help them with their theory.
Awesome. Well, a big thank you for joining us today, as always. And if you want to find out more from me, www.theinstructorpodcast.com. But for now, let's just keep raising standards.
The Instructor Podcast with Terry Cook, talking with leaders, innovators, experts and game changers about what drives them.